She said it's solid gold. Like 24 karat. Under her bed in a velvet pouch. That's what Sienna said, standing in Grandma's kitchen with her phone in one hand and a glass of expensive wine in the other. She said it loud enough for Grandma to hear from the living room where she sat reading her book. Loud enough for me to hear from the hallway where I was putting away groceries. Grandma stirred her tea slowly, methodically, like she hadn't heard a single word. But I knew better. I'd known Grandma my entire life. 28 years of learning her expressions and silences. She'd heard every syllable. Because I was the one who'd helped her set up the nanny cams 3 weeks earlier, hidden in picture frames and smoke detectors throughout the house. Grandma had looked at me that day with eyes that held decades of wisdom and said something I didn't fully understand yet. Sometimes people need to see themselves clearly before they can change. And sometimes they need to be caught. I'd nodded, thinking she was being paranoid. Now, watching Sienna casually discuss stealing from our grandmother, I understood perfectly. My name is Margot. I'm the granddaughter who stayed close when staying close wasn't convenient or Instagram worthy. The one who brought groceries every Tuesday without being asked. The one who sat through 6-hour chemotherapy appointments last year, holding Grandma's hand while she threw up into pink plastic basins. The one who never posted about any of it online because love isn't performative. It's just what you do. Sienna is my cousin, 2 years younger than me, infinitely more concerned with appearances than substance. She's beautiful in that effortless way some people are, with perfect hair and perfect clothes and a perfect social media presence. 15,000 followers who think she's devoted to family because she posts pictures at holiday dinners. But Sienna shows up when money or gifts are involved. Shows up when there's something to gain. Shows up to be seen caring, not to actually care. The difference matters more than most people realize. Grandma knew the difference. She'd always known. She just needed Sienna to prove it one final time before making her decision about the will. Grandma pulled me aside 6 months ago, right after her cancer went into remission. We were in her garden, surrounded by the roses she'd tended for 40 years. There's something in that gold box, she said, pointing toward her bedroom window. When the wrong person goes looking for it, they'll find exactly what they need to see. At the time, I thought she meant jewelry. Maybe her wedding ring from Grandpa, who'd passed away a decade earlier. Or the pearl necklace she wore in her wedding photos. The one she said was worth thousands. Family heirlooms that would go to someone eventually. I nodded politely, not really understanding. Grandma had a way of speaking in riddles sometimes, especially after her treatments. I figured she was being philosophical about inheritance and greed. Now, standing in that hallway listening to Sienna plan her theft, I understood exactly what Grandma had meant. The box wasn't about what was inside it. It was about who would try to open it when they thought no one was watching. It was a test, and Sienna was about to fail it spectacularly. The box had been in Grandma's closet for 30 years, sitting on the top shelf in a corner most people never looked at. Dark wood with brass corners, no bigger than a shoebox. No visible key, just a small antique lock and a purple velvet pouch inside that you could see if you shook it just right. One afternoon last month, Grandma handed me a tiny brass key on a chain. If anything ever happens to me, she said, her voice serious, this box is yours. Everything in it. Promise me you won't open it until I'm gone. I promised immediately, holding the key like it was made of glass. Then her expression changed completely. She smiled. That mischievous smile she got when she was planning something clever. Or, she added, her eyes twinkling, maybe we use it to teach someone a lesson first. What do you think, Margot? Is your cousin still asking about my jewelry? I'd stared at her, not quite following. What kind of lesson? Grandma just winked. The kind that shows people who they really are when they think no one's looking. That's when I knew she had a plan. Grandma left the box out exactly once, strategically placed for maximum temptation. On the floor of her bedroom, partially covered by a blanket that had accidentally fallen from the chair. Visible enough to be noticed. Hidden enough to seem like a secret. That night, Sienna stayed over after dropping in to check on Grandma for the first time in 4 months. She brought flowers from the grocery store, still in the plastic wrapper, and a card she'd clearly grabbed at the last minute. She hugged Grandma for exactly 3 seconds, enough for a photo but not long enough to actually feel like affection. "I'll sleep on the couch," Sienna announced, even though Grandma had a perfectly good guest room. "That way I'm close if you need anything during the night." Grandma agreed with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I left around 9, hugged Grandma goodbye, and drove exactly 3 blocks before pulling over and opening the security camera app on my phone. The cameras were rolling. The trap was set. All we needed now was for Sienna to reveal her true intentions. We didn't have to wait long. At 11:47 p.m., she made her move. I watched the feed from my phone, sitting in my parked car 3 blocks away, my heart pounding. Sienna snuck down the hallway around midnight, barefoot, so her steps wouldn't make noise, holding her phone flashlight low to the ground. She'd changed out of her nice clothes into all black, like she was planning a heist. The bedroom door creaked slightly when she opened it. She froze, listening. Grandma's soft snoring continued from the master bedroom down the hall. Sienna slipped inside, closed the door behind her, and went straight for the box. She tried the lock first, pulling on it gently. When it didn't open, she pulled out a bobby pin from her hair. I watched in real time as she picked the lock, something she'd clearly practiced or learned from YouTube. The lock clicked open after 90 seconds. She opened the velvet pouch carefully, expecting jewelry or gold coins. Instead, she pulled out a small flash drive, the kind you buy at any electronics store. Her face on the camera showed pure confusion. She turned it over in her hands, clearly debating whether this was the treasure or just random storage. Then curiosity won. She walked to Grandma's desk and turned on the laptop. The laptop was already set up exactly how Grandma wanted it. No password, browser open, ready to go. Sienna plugged in the flash drive with shaking hands. 3 video files appeared on the screen, each one dated from the past 6 months, each one titled simply, "What You Came For." Sienna's finger hovered over the mouse. She could have stopped, could have put everything back, could have walked away and pretended she'd never broken into Grandma's room to steal from her. But she didn't. She clicked the first video file, and her face filled the screen. The video was from 3 months ago, filmed from the hidden camera in Grandma's kitchen. Sienna was leaning against the refrigerator, phone pressed to her ear, talking to someone on speaker. Her voice came through clearly. "She's old and sick. I just need to stay nice for a few more years. Act like I care. Then when she dies, I'll get my share and never have to pretend again." In the present, watching herself on screen, Sienna's face went completely white. Her hand flew to her mouth. She'd forgotten that conversation. Forgotten she'd said those words out loud in Grandma's house. But the camera remembered everything. The second video was harder to watch, even for me sitting in my car. This one was from 2 months ago, the week after Grandma's final chemotherapy session. I'd been there that day, helping Grandma to bed because she was too weak to walk on her own. I'd left around 6 to get her prescription filled. That's when Sienna had shown up, letting herself in with the key Grandma had given her for emergencies. The video showed Sienna going through Grandma's medicine drawer in the bathroom, reading labels, taking photos of prescription bottles. Then she called someone, probably the same friend from before. "I'm at Grandma's. She's sleeping. God, there's so much medication here. She's definitely not going to last much longer." She'd laughed, actually laughed about our grandmother dying. Then she started talking about the will, about how much money she thought she'd inherit, about how Margot, that's me, was always here like a maid or something. It's giving desperate. Like, get a life. Watching the video on my phone, I saw Sienna's mouth fall open in her present moment. She'd forgotten the cameras existed, forgotten that Grandma sees and hears everything eventually. The third video started automatically. Except this video wasn't old footage. It was live feed, streaming in real time from the camera hidden in the living room. Sienna's eyes widened as she recognized the angle, the furniture, the current timestamp in the corner. The video showed Grandma walking down the hallway, teacup in hand, heading straight toward her bedroom. Toward Sienna. She was awake. Had been awake this whole time. Had probably been waiting for exactly this moment. On the live feed, Grandma's face was calm, almost peaceful. like she'd finally gotten the confirmation she'd been waiting for. In the bedroom, Sienna slammed the laptop shut with a sound that echoed through my phone speaker. She jumped up from the desk chair, looked around frantically for somewhere to hide. But there was nowhere to go. The bedroom door opened slowly. Grandma stood in the doorway in her nightgown, teacup steaming gently, her expression neutral. "Did you find what you were looking for, sweetheart?" Grandma asked, her voice soft and terribly, terribly sad. Sienna's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. No sound came out. What could she possibly say? "I thought it was something else," Sienna finally stammered, her voice shaking. "I thought you left it out by accident. I was just checking to make sure it was safe." The lies came easily, automatically, like she'd been practicing her whole life. Grandma walked into the room slowly, her slippers making soft sounds on the hardwood floor. She sat down in the chair by the window, the one she used for reading every morning. Calm, silent. She didn't yell or accuse or cry, just sipped her tea and looked at Sienna with those knowing eyes that had seen everything over 74 years. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours, but was probably only 60 seconds. Finally, Grandma spoke. "You were always going to go looking eventually. I've known that for years. I just wanted to make sure that when you did, what you found was the truth." She paused, took another sip of tea. Sometimes people need to see themselves clearly before they can decide who they want to be. Sienna stood frozen by the desk, the flash drive still in her hand. "Grandma, I can explain." "No need," Grandma interrupted gently. "The videos explained everything perfectly." I stayed in the hallway outside, having quietly let myself back into the house through the kitchen door, watching through the crack in the bedroom door. Part of me wanted to step in, to defend Grandma, to yell at Sienna for being so cruel and calculating. But another part of me, the part that understood Grandma's plan, knew this needed to happen exactly as she'd orchestrated it. Sienna needed to feel the full weight of what she'd done, needed to see herself through someone else's eyes, needed to understand that actions have consequences even when you think no one's watching. Grandma had spent months setting this up. The cameras, the box, the unlocked laptop, the perfectly titled video files. She'd known exactly what Sienna would do because she'd been watching the pattern for years. The fake concern, the performative love, the calculations behind every visit and phone call. This wasn't about punishment. It was about revelation, showing Sienna a mirror she'd been avoiding her entire life. Whether she'd learned from it or not was up to her. But at least now she couldn't claim ignorance. Sienna tried to defend herself, her voice rising with desperation. "Those conversations were just jokes. I didn't mean any of it. You know how people talk when they're venting. I love you, Grandma. I've always loved you." Her eyes were filling with tears. Real or performed, I couldn't tell anymore. Grandma smiled, but it was the saddest smile I'd ever seen on her face. "That's exactly why I put those moments on camera, sweetheart. To show you what you say when you think I'm not listening. To show you who you become when you believe there are no consequences." She set down her teacup carefully. "Love isn't something you claim. It's something you prove. Every single day. In the small moments when no one's watching and nothing's in it for you." Sienna's tears were flowing freely now. "I do prove it. I visit you. I call you. I brought you flowers tonight. You visited 4 times this year," Grandma said quietly. "Margot came 217 times. You called 6 times. She called every single day, even when I was too tired to answer. Your flowers were $12 from the grocery store." Her presence was priceless. The numbers hit like physical blows. Sienna tried a different approach, her voice getting smaller. "So what happens now? You're cutting me out? You're choosing her over me because I made some mistakes?" Grandma looked at her for a long moment before responding. "I'm not choosing anyone over anyone. I'm simply responding to choices you've already made." She stood up slowly, her joints creaking with age. "It's not gold you earn in this family, Sienna. It's trust. And trust is built through consistency, through showing up, through loving people even when it's inconvenient." She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the frame. "You just bankrupted yours. Whether you rebuild it or not is completely up to you." The words hung in the air like smoke. Final. Unchangeable. Sienna stood there holding the flash drive, surrounded by the evidence of her own cruelty, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely lost. Not sad that she'd hurt someone. Sad that she'd been caught. Sad that there were consequences. Grandma left the room without another word. I pressed myself against the hallway wall as she passed, and she gave me the tiniest nod. The plan had worked exactly as she'd intended. Sienna left that night within 30 minutes of the confrontation. I watched from the kitchen window as she threw her overnight bag into her car, slammed the door hard enough to shake the frame, and peeled out of the driveway without looking back. She didn't say goodbye to Grandma, didn't offer to help clean up the teacups or put away the blankets, didn't ask how Grandma was feeling or if she needed anything. Just walked out angry that she didn't find gold, furious that she'd been caught, outraged that there were actually consequences for her actions. She never realized that she'd found something far more valuable than jewelry or money in that box. She'd found the truth about herself, found a mirror that showed exactly who she'd become when she thought no one was watching. And instead of using that truth to grow or change, she'd rejected it completely, chosen to be angry at being caught rather than ashamed of what she'd done. That choice told Grandma everything she needed to know. I went back inside and found Grandma sitting in her reading chair, looking out at the garden in the moonlight. "Are you okay?" I asked softly. She smiled. "Better than okay. Clarity is a gift, even when it hurts." Grandma looked at me with tired but peaceful eyes. "Isn't it funny?" she said, her voice soft in the quiet house. "All these years, Sienna thought the treasure was mine to give. The gold, the jewelry, the money. She never realized the real treasure was hers to lose." I sat down on the footstool near her chair. "What do you mean?" "Trust," Grandma said simply. "Love. Family connection. Those things are treasures you build yourself through your actions. I can't give them to you. I can only recognize when you've earned them or destroyed them." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "You built your treasure over 28 years of showing up. Sienna destroyed hers tonight by revealing she never built it at all. Just performed it when convenient. I thought about all the Tuesday grocery trips, all the chemo appointments, all the phone calls just to chat about nothing important. I'd never thought of any of it as building treasure, just as loving someone who'd loved me first. She might change, I offered, though I didn't believe it. Grandma shrugged. Maybe. But change requires seeing yourself clearly and choosing differently. Tonight, she saw herself clearly and chose anger. That tells me everything. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Sienna had gone nuclear in our family group chat, posting a long message about how Grandma had set her up and humiliated her with spy cameras that were probably illegal. She painted herself as the victim, claimed she'd only been checking on the box because she was worried someone might steal it, said Grandma was losing her mind and needed to be in a home. The messages kept coming, each one more desperate and accusatory. Our aunt replied first, confused and asking what happened. Then our uncle demanding explanations. Then cousins I barely knew, suddenly interested in family drama. My phone rang 14 times in an hour. I didn't pick up once. Because if you only show up when there's treasure to grab or drama to consume, you don't deserve the truth. You definitely don't deserve my time explaining why stealing is wrong and consequences exist. I turned off my phone and made Grandma breakfast instead. Scrambled eggs with cheese, wheat toast, the orange juice she liked. We ate in peaceful silence while her phone buzzed with messages she ignored completely. "Aren't you going to respond?" I asked. She smiled. "Why? The cameras already told the truth. I don't need to defend it." Later that week, Grandma gave me a folder from her desk drawer. Thick manila folder with my name written on the tab in her careful handwriting. "What's this?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "The actual estate plans," she said. "Updated last month. I wanted you to see them now rather than after I'm gone, so there's no confusion." I opened the folder slowly. Inside were legal documents, properly notarized and witnessed. Page after page naming me as the primary beneficiary of everything. The house, the savings, the investments Grandpa had left her, the jewelry, including the real gold pieces worth thousands. My name on every single line. I flipped through looking for Sienna's name, knowing I wouldn't find it but needing to check. There, on page 7, a single line. Sienna removed from will, dated March 15th, due to character breach and repeated betrayal of trust. The words were clinical, legal, final. When did you change this? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. 3 weeks ago, Grandma said. Right after I caught her going through my purse looking for my ATM card. The box was just the final test. The confirmation I needed to be absolutely sure. She'd known all along. Had been watching the pattern for months, maybe years. Grandma handed me a second flash drive, identical to the one in the box. This is a backup, she explained. Every video, every recording, every piece of evidence from the past 6 months. Keep it somewhere safe. I turned the drive over in my hands. Why? What's it for? In case Sienna tries to flip the story, Grandma said. In case she claims I was mentally incompetent or that you manipulated me, or any of the other lies people tell when they're cut out of wills. This proves I was perfectly lucid and that my decision was based on documented evidence, not favoritism. She'd thought 10 steps ahead, covering every possible angle, making sure that when she was gone, no lawyer or relative could claim her decisions were invalid, protecting not just her assets, but her reasoning, her dignity, her right to choose who received her life's work. She didn't raise fools. She'd taught me to be careful, thoughtful, strategic. But she'd also taught Sienna the same lessons. Sienna just chose not to learn them. Chose to believe she was clever enough to fool everyone. That cameras didn't exist, that actions didn't have consequences. She'd learned the wrong lessons from a wise teacher. That wasn't Grandma's failure. That was Sienna's choice. 2 weeks later, Grandma invited the entire family over for Sunday dinner. 16 people crowded into her dining room, passing dishes and making small talk, including Sienna, who showed up late wearing sunglasses indoors and barely speaking to anyone. The tension was thick enough to cut. Halfway through dessert, Grandma stood up and tapped her glass with a spoon. Everyone quieted immediately, expecting a toast or announcement. I was going to pass something important on to the next generation, Grandma said, her voice clear and strong. But recent events showed me what different people in this family actually value. She paused, letting the words sink in. So I've adjusted my plans accordingly. Some people showed me they value things over people. Inheritance over integrity. Money over love. And that's fine. Everyone gets to make their choices. But choices have consequences. She didn't name Sienna specifically. Didn't have to. Everyone at that table knew exactly who she meant. You could feel the knowledge in the room like electricity. Sienna's face went bright red. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. This is ridiculous. You're all ridiculous. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Nobody tried to stop her. Sienna cornered me in the bathroom 20 minutes later, having apparently decided not to leave after all. She locked the door behind her, her eyes wild and desperate. This is your fault, she hissed. You turned her against me. You've been poisoning her against me for years. I looked at her calmly, amazed at how someone could witness their own recorded cruelty and still blame everyone else. Grandma doesn't need me to tell her anything, I said. She has eyes and ears. She has cameras. She has memory. This is petty, Sienna spat. She's being petty and vindictive. And you're enabling it because you want all the money for yourself. I could have gotten angry. Could have listed all the times I'd shown up when she didn't. Could have thrown her own words back at her. Instead, I just said 5 words that ended the conversation completely. She didn't ruin your reputation. You recorded it yourself. Sienna's mouth opened and closed. She had no response to that, because it was absolutely true. The videos didn't lie. The timestamps didn't lie. Her own voice didn't lie. She destroyed herself and was furious no one was helping her rebuild what she'd burned down. Somehow, within a month, the footage leaked online. Nobody ever admitted to being the source, though I had my suspicions about one of our younger cousins who was good with computers and had always disliked Sienna. The videos went viral on TikTok within 48 hours. Entitled Granddaughter Gets Exposed by Hidden Nanny Cam became a trending topic. Commentary channels picked it up. Reddit dissected every frame. Millions of people watch Sienna discuss stealing from our dying grandmother, then get caught red-handed. Her face was clear in every shot, her voice unmistakable, her cruelty on full display for the world to judge. She disabled comments on all her social media within a day, made her Instagram private, deleted her Twitter entirely, changed her phone number, and moved to a different city within 2 weeks. The exposure destroyed the carefully curated image she'd spent years building. All those followers who thought she was devoted to family now knew the truth. Meanwhile, Grandma just sipped her tea and tended her roses like nothing had happened. When I asked if she'd leaked the videos, she just smiled. "The truth has a way of spreading on its own," she said. "I don't need to help it along." The silence after Sienna left was the loudest thing I'd ever experienced. No more fake cheerful texts in the family chat. No more performative, just checking in phone calls. No more showing up with grocery store flowers and 3-second hugs when she needed something. Just absence. Complete and total absence. And for the first time in years, Grandma's house felt genuinely peaceful instead of just quiet. We fell into a comfortable routine. I came over Tuesdays and Thursdays for dinner, Saturdays for gardening, Sunday mornings for church when Grandma felt strong enough. We played cards and watched old movies and talked about everything and nothing. Sometimes she'd mention Sienna, usually wondering if she was okay, if she'd learned anything, if she'd ever apologize. But mostly we just enjoyed being together without the weight of someone else's resentment hanging over everything. Family dinners became smaller, more intimate. Just the people who genuinely wanted to be there, who showed up out of love instead of obligation or greed. The house felt full in a way it never had when Sienna was performing for an audience. Turns out peace is louder than drama. Quiet love is stronger than loud performance. And showing up consistently is worth more than any gold. One afternoon 6 months after everything happened, Grandma called me into her room. She handed me a new flash drive, this one labeled with my name. "What's on this one?" I asked. "No footage," she said, her eyes crinkling with a smile. "Just a note. Open it when you get home." That evening, I plugged the drive into my laptop. A single document file opened. Inside, a letter written in the same careful handwriting I'd known my entire life. "Margot, you stayed when staying wasn't easy. You showed up when showing up wasn't convenient. You loved me not because of what I could give you, but because of who we are to each other. You never had to dig through my belongings looking for treasure because you understood something Sienna never learned. The treasure isn't in the things we own. It's in the relationships we build through consistent love and presence. So here's your real treasure, the only one that actually matters, my complete and total trust. Everything I have will go to you not because you earned it through manipulation or calculation, but because you earned it through love. That's how inheritance should work. Not as a reward for blood relation, but as recognition for love in action. I love you, sweetheart. Forever. Grandma." I cried reading those words. Cried for everything they meant and everything they represented. I printed that letter and framed it on my wall where I could see it every morning. A reminder that treasure isn't what you take. It's what you build through showing up day after day when nobody's watching and nothing's in it for you. It's knowing you're the one who gets called when someone needs help. Not because you have to answer, but because you want to. Because that relationship matters more than convenience or comfort or sleep or plans. Grandma lived 3 more years after that night with Sienna. 3 years of Tuesday dinners and Saturday gardens and Sunday morning church. 3 years of card games and old movies and conversations about everything. 3 years of peace without performance. When she finally passed, quietly in her sleep at 77, I was the one holding her hand. The funeral was small, just the people who'd actually shown up during her life. Sienna didn't come. Sent flowers instead. Grocery store ones, $12 with a generic card. Some people never learn. The will reading was simple since I already knew everything it contained. The house, the savings, the real gold jewelry that Sienna had been hunting for. All of it mine now. Not because I'd wanted it or asked for it or calculated how to get it, but because I'd loved someone consistently and she'd recognized that love for what it was. Years have passed since that night when Sienna broke into Grandma's room looking for treasure. She never apologized, never reached out, never acknowledged what she'd done or tried to make amends. She lives in a different state now with a different name on social media, probably still performing for an audience that doesn't know her real story. And that's okay. I've made peace with it. Because Grandma's lesson was never really about humiliating Sienna or punishing her for being greedy. It was about teaching me something essential. Some people go digging for gold and miss all the treasure they already had. They focus so hard on what they might inherit that they destroy the inheritance that actually matters. Love, trust, connection, family. I keep that framed letter on my wall. Keep Grandma's wedding ring on a chain around my neck. Keep her house exactly as she left it. Roses still blooming in the garden she tended for 40 years. Not as monuments to what I received, but as reminders of what I learned. If you show up for the gold, you'll miss the value. If you show up with love, you become the treasure yourself. And when people think no one's watching, someone always is. Grandma taught me that. And even though she's gone now, her lesson lives on every single day. In every choice I make. In every relationship I build. In every moment I choose presence over performance. Love over calculation. Truth over convenience. That's the real treasure. And nobody can ever take it away.